Hi, I'm Michael Cortese of NobleSpirit in Pittsfield, New Hampshire.
And hi, I'm Jasmine Lacerte, just a regular stamp collector.
And today we're going to be talking to Jennifer Miller of the American Topical Association. She is the executive director and has been for quite some time. But Jasmine, you're here because you are currently a topical collector and got started as a topical collector. So I thought you'd be fantastic to give some insight
Yeah,
into topical philately, but also because yeah, we've known each other for a year or two now.
yeah, sounds
Um,
about right.
yeah, we're in the same straight. Yeah, met up a couple of times. You've been to a couple shows that I've been at too, but also at yeah, a couple bars. It's
Yeah, been
yeah.
around. I did fangirl and send you an email telling you that I liked your podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
So I will admit to that. But yeah, I'm mostly just a topical collector. I am a member of the ATA. So this is kind of a really neat moment for me to be able to talk to her
Mhm.
and get some maybe a little insider information on what it's like to be a not just a board member, but like the executive director
Yeah.
and how it all goes down there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure she's got a lot of insight into how people or what specifically people are the most interested in. I mean, what I want to ask my one of my first questions is just going to be what is the most area collected within topical philately at the ATA? What brings people in the most? Because everybody's connected. I hear people, the majority of people get in through topical collecting, but what is there a common theme? Like, what brings the most people in? No, I think
Yeah,
it'll
that'd be
be
interesting.
it'll be interesting because there's a section on their website that talks about the different aspects. There's, bicycles, biology, Captain Hook Society. I thought that one was
That's
interesting.
cool.
Oh, sorry, Captain Cook Society. That's
Oh, yeah.
James Cook. Okay, not Captain
Much
Hook.
different. I mean, there
Yeah,
is Disney for sure, but I
yeah,
didn't know if there was a lot of just Captain Hook.
yeah. I was
That
just
would be
reading it
wild.
down. And I was like, I'm gonna double check that one. Yeah, but
Yeah.
no, it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to talking to her about it.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'm right now just focusing on tea, which became a lot more harder than I thought. I was like, oh, I just some teapots and maybe some like, the leaves or whatever. But I can't tell the difference between a teapot and a coffee pot still. So I guess it's also like a hybrid, coffee and tea. But
Yeah.
it seems looking at the list, I think we're looking at the same one that it gets so specific and then also just so broad, like
Hmm.
just plants. Plants
Yeah.
on stamps must be huge, but then you could get all the different types. So yeah, it's definitely a cool area of the hobby, I think. And it's very low key. It's just kind of fun and doing what you want to do. So
Yeah.
I like it that way.
Yeah. They look like they're having a good time. Jennifer's here. I will
Oh,
let her
cool.
in,
Sounds
and
great.
yeah, we'll get to going.
Yeah. Well, hello. Good to hear you.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks
Hey.
for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. So,
No, of course, of course. Yeah, I mean it's such a large part of the hobby. I was surprised I hadn't already invited you or hadn't already talked to you because it's the ATA is just front and center at every single Great American Stamp Show. It's no such a massive part of the hobby.
so well, thank you. We try to be fun and out there. So,
Yeah, I've
So,
seen some
oh,
images of things that you've done at different stamp shows and like the Pony Express. It looks like some people were out with like cowboy hats and everything, which is just so fun. I love that about this group.
yeah. Well, my theory is if it's a hobby, it's supposed to be fun.
hmm.
Yeah,
So if it's not fun, why are you doing it? So,
yeah.
so
So how long have you been executive director?
I became the executive director in August of 2019.
Okay, that's great. And before that, did you have a role in the ATA or were you interested in topical stamps or anything like that?
I have been a collector for a little while.
Hmm.
Um, I started out like most people. I had a stamp collection as a kid, and I thought, I can never get all the stamps in the world, so I kind of gave up. And my husband has been a collector his whole life. And so I would follow him to stamp shows and things. And one day I met Dawn and Vera at the ATA booth, and they were like, well, what do you collect? And I was like, well, I don't collect anymore. I'm just here with him. And they're like, well, what do you like? And I said, oh, I love sheep. And they were like, well, you could collect sheep on stamps. And I thought, sure, okay, maybe that's a collection I could get. There's 50, maybe 50 sheep stamps, and so they told me about the checklist, and I got it. And there are over 1,500 sheep stamps.
Oh, wow.
So I still do not have a complete collection, but
Oh, wow.
but it's I'm having a lot of fun getting there. So
That's fantastic. So yeah, I mean, that's great to hear that you're still working on your topical collection from when that brought you into executive director. That's what was the process like that?
As far as becoming the executive director,
Mm-hmm.
well, at anytime we have a show, we usually have like an evening out where ATA members go out to eat together. And so I was starting to get to know people, and I happened to sit by Dawn Hammond one evening, and we talked a lot and everything. Well, it turns out she was on the board and was becoming the next president, and so she was like, I think we would make a great team. And so she encouraged me to apply when Vera retired. And so I did. And that was how I joined in. And Vera lived in Illinois and I'm in South Carolina. So I drove out there and packed up the place, and Vera gave me a little bit of training, and I brought it back and took off. So it's been kind of a wild ride. Because not long after I started was when COVID hit.
Right.
And so, when you have a transition, sometimes there's, well, we used to do it this way, or it was always this way before. Well, that kind of worked in my favor, because then it didn't matter how it was done before, because everybody was doing everything different. So that actually kind of made my transition a little bit easier, because I didn't have to try to meet any previous expectations, because at that point there were no expectations. We were all making it up as we went along.
Right. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy the fact that the ATA is so much about fun.
Mm-hmm.
So that's.
And we were just commenting about you guys' website and how wonderfully laid out it is and very interactive. And I think that that's really good example of like, this is a stamp website and this is what it could look like. And it really draws you in to click on different areas. I'm just recently a part of the ATA, less than a year. Was that part of your transition during COVID, was kind of making that website a little better, or you guys have always just been on it with the website?
No, when I took over, one of the first things we wanted to do was try to consolidate and upgrade technology. And we had a website before, and Vera had to do a lot of things in Excel and a lot of manual record keeping. And so we went on the search for a membership database, and found one that has the website integrated. And so after a lot of research, we did that and got it started. And my husband Martin was very instrumental in getting the website set up for us and getting that put together. So that was nice. It was great because we could work together, and I could give him my vision for what it was supposed to be, and then he could make it happen.
Oh, that's terrific. That's terrific.
It kind of makes up for him dragging you along all those years, right? Now he's helping out with yours.
Exactly. I'm putting him to work now.
There you go.
No, it's incredibly organized, and I love how it shows you all the past award winners, past meeting locations, the distinguished philatelists. It's so easy to find absolutely everything, and if you want to know more about people, or you meet someone at a show and you say that name rings a bell, you go there, you can see, they've won these past awards at the ATA. It's incredibly easy to navigate, and really fantastic.
Oh, wonderful. Well, that's what we're shooting for. So trying to be it's been an interesting balance, line to walk as far as reaching out to, younger people that are more tech savvy and still trying to bring along our
Hmm.
older members that are not, tech savvy, and trying to meet somewhere in the middle where, they can learn and get in and not feel too overwhelmed or intimidated, but still trying to be modern enough to bring in, the younger people.
Yeah,
So I think
Right.
we kind of achieved a good balance there. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the places to point at that really shows that is your lists that you have for all the different topics. I was poking at that earlier today, and it mentions that there is still like a physical order sheet that you can have, but also you can go on there and do a bunch of different searches for different topics, and it is very nice and streamlined. But I do like that if I really wanted to use a stamp, I could mail in my own paper copy, which is great.
and I still get, paper copies, and that's fine. But yeah, we've always had, they started the checklist database, I think in maybe, well, I'm not sure when they first started it. In its latest thing, it was in 2014, I think, was when that database was put together. And then just this past year, we have converted it to a modern online cloud-based system. And so we still have, a few little glitches to work out in it, but that's really going to be a big step forward. Ordering now is so easy because you don't have to know exactly what you're looking for. You can just go in and type it in, and it will show you the options. And so hopefully that will make it a lot easier for people to find what they're looking for without having to look through the whole list, kind of thing. So
Yeah. What would you say was one of the biggest hurdles when you came on as executive director, having it be the pandemic immediately after, but you still had a couple in-person shows? I think we met at the show in Nebraska. Yeah. So
yeah, that was kind of the transition point.
yeah. So what was the kind of the greatest hurdle there?
um I would say trying to take the personal interaction of a show and bring it into the digital world, where there's no getting people onto Zoom, and so that we can have that personal interaction. It was, the shows were a big part of our interaction, telling people about memberships, selling items. That was kind of our biggest advertising point, so to speak. But when that all went away, we had to get our name out there in other ways. So that was when we, put more emphasis on the website and making it easier to join online. Most of our people used to join at shows, and now 98% of our people join online.
Wow.
So that's been a big improvement.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jasmine.
Nope, I was agreeing.
I was just going to ask, did you see a massive, influx of people coming into the ATA over the pandemic? I mean, we had a lot of new collectors and come into the hobby, people who hadn't been collecting for a while. All of a sudden now they have to stay home. They're collecting. So did you guys see a massive amount of people coming into the ATA?
We did. We had, I think we had about a 10% growth that first year. So
wow.
Okay.
It was a big jump. And we had a lot of people who had been members in the past rejoining as well. So it was, pulling from both fields, so to speak. But it was very exciting. The sense of growth, because the hobby's had some struggles in the past, and so that was, it was a bad thing for the world, but it was definitely a silver lining, for us in the hobby, because since people had to stay home, they had to find things to do. So they pulled their stamps out again.
So now coming back to physical shows, after being away for so long, are you finding things easier or more difficult, or was it easier to manage everything from just being virtual, or now that you're in physical shows, is it a big change from what you remember in Nebraska?
Um, we've kind of pared down what we do at shows a little bit, tried to just concentrate, like our booth size is smaller. And we try to just be a little bit more specific. For example, we don't bring all of our handbooks to sell. We have a couple of our most recent, most popular ones that we bring. And, so it's kind of a pared down thing, which I think is, streamlined, maybe is a good way to put it. And try to focus on getting our name out there. I forget, since I know about the ATA, I forget that there are people that have never heard of us. So, and to me, that's part of also having the fun and more elaborate, fancy booth at the show is it draws attention. And, I want to be seen as people that have fun. So I don't want people to feel intimidated to come talk to us. It's very, very important for, people to feel comfortable coming and asking questions and to see what we're all about.
Yeah. I've only been to a small handful of shows, and that intimidation part you mentioned is so real. At my first show, I think I sat at maybe like 2 booths and then left. Because it is intimidating, especially if you don't know what to do. I haven't yet been to one where you guys have been at, but again, I've seen some of the social media stuff, and that having something like that, I think, could really change the vibe and the feel of a show. You see somebody very clearly laughing and having a good time over there. It's like, oh, I don't have to be so serious right now. I think that would be huge. Just something so not so small, but it is so big. Just a complete change of view when you go into a scenario. People having a good time and laughing. So I appreciate what you guys do.
If you're new to the hobby and you don't know a lot, it's very intimidating. There's a big portion of things that seems very academic and esoteric that's scary to someone who doesn't know about, philately. You walk down the rows of some of those exhibits and you're like, I have not a clue what any of this means. You see 10 frames of the same stamp. You're like, I don't understand why there's, and so that can be a little intimidating. So, we try to bring the fun. It's easier to join and get into something if it's fun and not so scary and intimidating.
Yeah.
But I do also feel that topical collecting gets kind of a little bit of a bad rap, like, oh, this is just easy and simple. The last edition of the Topical Times, the publication that you put out, there was a whole article talking about the first cat on a stamp, and how it started off very simple. Okay, this is, I'm having a brain fart on his name. Hindenburg, I think. Lindenberg, yeah. This is his cat's silhouette. But then the article continued and got into that detail in that academic world that it seems like the rest of the philately is very into as well. It started talking about shade differences for the stamp and different errors and small, variations and stuff. So you can still get that academia out of topical, but it is definitely a much friendlier entrance level, I think. I collect cats on stamps. Oh my God, now I have 17 different varieties of this one stamp. And you question your life, but also it's fun, so it's all good.
Yes. A lot of sheep stamps are very common. There's a lot of, Christmas nativity scenes that have sheep on them. But I remember the first time I paid $50 for a sheep stamp. And I was like, wow, I am a serious collector now, But you can definitely take it as far as you want to, if you're interested in that. To me, that's the biggest part of all of this is collecting. It's your collection. So collect however you want to. If you want 15 of the same stamp in, all the different colors or whatever, get that. If you want, if you want to look for errors or something, do that. If you really just like pictures of sheep and you just want to look at sheep and that's all you want to do, that's fine too. It's, it's your collection. So however you want to do it is just right.
Yes. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
fantastic. Yeah, and there's still within there levels of competition. I was seeing that the ATA holds the only all thematic stamp exhibition in the US each year. Can you talk a little bit about what competing at a topical level is like?
Well, I think I have yet to do my first exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm in this role, my time to play with my stamps is
Right.
increased a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
But my husband actually just did his first one. To me, it's a different type of exhibiting because it's about telling the story.
Okay.
And so it's not necessarily focusing on a particular stamp, that type of thing. It's a much broader thing. And to me, it's more appealing like to the general public.
Right.
A person just coming in off the street can understand that type of an exhibit much better than, some of the others that are much more academic.
Mm-hmm.
And, like Ed Bergen and his Disney ones, those are always a hit, because everybody loves Disney. So
right.
Those are fun, even for kids to look at. So, there's one on Smokey Bear. That's, there's some and anyone coming in off the street could be interested in those.
Right. Yeah. It makes sense to them. It's something that they can relate to. Whereas,
yes,
other things is shade varieties and postal routes and everything like that. It's a lot harder when you're walking off the street or just wanting to get interested. It's a lot harder to relate to that kind of stuff. And there's definitely different kinds of areas that people can get interested into the hobby. Some people are interested in the history aspect and that's what pulls them in, but an insane amount of people are interested in topical philately because it relates to everyone,
mm-hmm.
no matter what, because there's just so many different topics. I was looking at all the different lists on the website. I mean, there's space, stamps on stamps, which I thought was interesting, scouts on stamps, graphics on stamps. I mean, astronomy. It's just every single person has an interest that they'll be able to find on a stamp. And to then be able to take that and compete within that is it's phenomenal.
And I got to imagine it lends itself to presentation a lot easier because of just narration and a narrative. When you're doing business presentations, every time you look up, like, how do I do a business presentation? They're like, find the narrative. It's so easy to find a narrative when you're going through and talking about this specific, I keep going back to cats, but like, the narration of this one specific cat stamp is easier to find, I would think, than a million shades. But I think there could be a narrative that you could find about the different shades and stuff. It just seems like that would be more, would be harder, it would be trickier to find, to draw people in and bring interest.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even the
cats is one of the most popular topics.
Yeah. I think even that's why I keep coming back to it. I'm like, cats on stamps seems like it would be such a hit with people.
Yeah, it is. That's one of the most popular ones.
Yeah, I was going to ask what the most popular within. Is there a top? You said cats is one of the most, but is there a most popular area?
Well, it never ceases to amaze me the things that people request. We have over 1,600 checklists, and I still get custom requests all the time for things that we do not have a list for. So it never ceases to amaze me the things that people are interested in, the detail.
Yeah.
The trains is always very popular as far as general topics. Trains, military, and aviation, cats, dogs, penguins is one of our very active study units. So I would say those are some of the top. Unfortunately, sheep doesn't really rank up there very high, but
Just needs better PR.
Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
Did you mention like a study group with the penguins? What is a
Yes.
study group for you guys?
Yes. So we have study units, which are groups of people who are all about the same topic. So there is a Cats on Stamps study unit. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Marcy Jarvis is the president, I think, of that. And so you can join that. There is a page on our website that lists all the study units that are affiliated with us. And so most of them, if they have a website, we have a link to their website so you can find out more about them. But so everyone, if you collect cats, you would join Cats on Stamps. There's penguins, there's space, there's trains, there's several different, I don't remember how many different study units there are. But there's a lot. And so that's a way you can get even more, you can be with more people who are your specific topic.
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of neat, having little communities within a community like that.
Yes.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've started one of the things that we've started is an online directory of our members. And it's only for members to see so that they don't have to worry about, privacy concerns or whatever, and they have to opt in. But we have an online directory. So if you want to go online and see who else collects sheep, you can do that. And then you can, if they've chosen to share their email, you can email them and you can, have discussions. Wow. And we even have a way that you can show, like if you have extra stamps that you want to trade with somebody, you can have a little photo album of your stamps to trade and things like that. So we're trying to make it easier for our members to interact with each other.
Yeah.
Since we are all over the world.
Yeah, that's terrific because there's a lot of people who have to hit some roadblocks and at a certain point, get frustrated and stop with their collections. But if they've got people to reach out to and people that they can trade with or people that they can easily contact, and the checklists, I'm sure must be incredibly valuable to these people who otherwise would just be parsing through Scott catalogs looking for different topics, but the checklists just show you. It's got to make it so much more enjoyable to collect rather than frustrating.
Yes, well, with the checklist, it helps your shopping tremendously.
Yeah.
I had an email yesterday from a guy in the UK who said, we are wondering about the checklist because we keep going to dealers and they were collecting train stamps. And they said, we keep buying these little grab bags of stamps and we keep ending up getting the same stamps over and over. But most dealers don't necessarily organize by topic. Mm-hmm. So the great thing about the checklist is that it has the country, the Scott number, so you can go to a dealer and say, I want this specific stamp, and they can find it for you.
Yeah.
It really helps a lot in the shopping.
Yeah. Tea is my main collection right now. And I started with just saying, can I have China? And then that's such a broad, I'm here with this giant box and just flipping through. I like the hunt, that's fun, but you see the same ones, and that list kind of thing makes it a lot easier to know, okay, I'm looking for this one. I could skip this entire box and go to the back.
Yes. So, well, and when you start rifling through the boxes, that's when you start adding topics too. Because, now in addition to sheep, I have coffee, Winnie the Pooh, teapots, potatoes, so all the little things that you're like, ooh, I like that stamp. Now all of a sudden I have a collection for it. So
I have a separate album for just neat stuff I've found that have nothing to do with any sort of collection. It's just like, I liked it, I bought it.
Yes.
It's bad gateway but it's fun.
Yes, I think we all have one of those collections. Those are sometimes the favorites.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask about the distinguished topical philatelist. What does someone have to do? It's the highest honor given by the ATA? What does someone have to do to win that award? Because I see usually it's just one person, but a couple years have two people winning that award. What does someone have to do to win that award?
Well, it's generally based on their contributions specifically to topical philately.
Okay.
There is a committee, and the names are submitted for nomination, and then they choose. But there's different types. Like sometimes we have people who have done great contributions to study units. Not necessarily the ATA as a whole, but more
Right.
like their study units, because that's part of topical philately. I mean, they're an ATA member, but and then like this last year, it was Tom Broadhead, who's on our board and has, done a lot of advocating for presentations for us. He's, just contributed in many, many ways. So there's different ways that we look for people. But it's our highest honor. And most of the time it is just one person, because it's such a special thing. But every now and then, I can't decide. So there's two.
Yeah. So another thing that I kind of poked around on the website and found was you have a little bit of or maybe Boston 2026 is having a contest, and maybe you're kind of posting it around. Can you talk about that contest at all?
Yeah, when it was brought up about Boston, Dawn's first thought was, well, there's all kinds of stamps about Boston. And, being topical collectors, that's the way we think.
Yeah.
And so they decided, they are running the contest, but we're trying to help them out because, it's a topical. So we're very supportive of that. So I don't know. I will be very interested to see what kind of list they come up with. We've done sort of a same type of thing, like for the states. We have lists for all the different states. And so it would be interesting to do the same type of thing for cities. I think Boston's a great place to start, but someone might now go for Chicago or New York or whatever, some other big cities. And so there's lots of ways you can go with topics.
Yeah. Just the idea of figuring out Boston. I mean, they're not just, but you could do Tea Party, the big Tea Party thing with Boston. You can go crazy with different things and make connections. So I would be interested to see. Hopefully they'll release the list. It seems like the contest is finding the most connections to Boston. So I really hope that they release the list so we can kind of see how people took that. Because that's crazy and creative, being able to make those connections. There is that element of creativity in the topical.
It's interesting too. When you look at the lists, it's somewhat subjective. Because again, like I said before about how it's your collection, you collect it how you want to. I was looking at the chemistry list the other day, and someone commented that it had way too many things on it. Well, to some people, chemistry might be just beakers and test tubes. The person who had contributed to this list took chemistry to mean anything that was an element or whatever that would be part of chemistry. And so then they brought a lot more to the list than I would have thought to bring if I was making the list. So it's very interesting, how subjective some of the lists are.
Huh. I wouldn't have thought of it like that.
Yeah. I was surprised because obviously I have not looked at all 1,600 lists. So after they bought it, they commented, and so I was like, looking at it, I was like, oh, I would not have thought of that, but the person who created it did. They were trying to be very, very thorough.
Yeah, and you got to figure there's some overlap between different topics as well. Yes. Stamps with cats and dogs on them, ships and chemistry, ships and it's. Yeah.
One stamp could be a part of many different lists. Some of them,
Yeah. Huh.
Well, you mentioned that one of your topics is coffee and then teapot separately. We might have to talk because I can't tell the difference between a coffee pot and a teapot right now, and that's making my life hard. So if you've got any pointers later, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah. I guess most of my coffee ones are more like the beans so far.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot in my coffee collection yet, but most of them have been more the beans and things. And I only have a couple of teapots, and that was because I happened to be going through an album looking for something, like you said, rifling through, and I saw this beautiful teapot, and I was like, oh, I must have that. And so the collection begins.
That is the way. Yeah.
Yeah. I get that question about sheep and goats too. The difference between sheep and goats, and which just a general is if the horns and the tail go up, it's a goat. If the horns and tail are down, it's a sheep. Not 100% true, but generally that's a general.
Interesting. Now, it's wild that it's so subjective as to there'd be debate on what actually defines a topical stamp and what umbrella it goes under. That's incredible.
So that's why I'm just like, it's your collection. You collect however you want to. So,
yeah.
That's a good way of putting it, though, because I could see, I like to argue. I can argue about, that's a goat, that's a sheep, So having that viewpoint of collect what you want probably keeps the anger down and the disagreements from happening.
Yeah, because with Year of the Ram, that gets really, that's a really tough one there because I tried to look it up one time, and if I'm correct, the explanation is that the word that's actually used is basically the scientific term, which I'm not good at, but it's like the level up, which can cover sheep and goats. So Year of the Ram, I mean, technically a ram is a male sheep, but that's not necessarily the word that's used. It's like the level up, if I understood what I read correctly. So you can use either one, sheep or goats for you. So
yeah. And then I could see it being kind of a contest. You got a bunch of topical collectors in the area, and it's like, all right, all the sheep, that ram one is being collected by goats and sheep and zodiac collectors. So who gets this one stamp that's there at the dealer?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or a topic itself, if of subjective topical stamps. Somebody's collecting just stamps that most people aren't able to agree upon what umbrella this goes under.
So there you go. That's an interesting one.
You would really have to be very community minded to figure out who's arguing these stamps.
Yeah,
boy.
So, if somebody wants to go about joining the ATA, you said the website is where 98% of your new applicants are coming from. What do people get for joining the ATA? I know Jasmine had mentioned the topical time. What other benefits are there?
We have the option of print or electronic. So if you're electronic only, you sign in and you can read it online, download the PDF, etc. If you are print, obviously you get it in the mail. The biggest benefit is that you can purchase the checklist. Those are for members only. But once you are if you're a member, once you purchase your checklist, you get free updates as long as you're a member. So, there's new stamps and things added all the time. So as long as you're a member, you can request a free update. And so that's a nice perk. There's somebody just sent me their request for updates today, and there's like 20 lists there. So got a little, so that there's the access to the directory, which is, beneficial to people looking to reach out to other people. Those are some of the main benefits. You get a discount in our store if you're purchasing handbooks or taste topicals or things. So those are some of the biggest ones.
Yeah. How many members does the ATA have?
So Can I ask you how many you think we have?
Yeah.
What would be your
Oh.
guess?
Okay. I'd say about, oh, that's tough. 13,000.
Okay. See,
Yeah.
we're not quite that big,
Okay.
but people think we're bigger than we are. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm always hesitant to give a number because I think a lot of people think we're big like that. So
Yeah.
we're not quite that big.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I would have assumed so because it's the largest um area of introduction into the hobby for the majority of people. But this yeah, what you were talking about before, the struggles of introducing people to the ATA and showing them the checklists are going to be one of the easiest ways to collect topical stamps in the topical time. Jasmine, I mean that the article that you mentioned about diving into silhouettes of cats on stamps. I mean, the benefits to being an ATA member is just going to be is just going to make topical collecting so much easier. So yeah, I would have assumed that the ATA was just this massive, association um, of topical collectors. But
Well, I have a lot of ideas on how to reach out. I
mhm,
think that's one of the things with topicals. It is easier to try to reach other audiences.
mhm,
I haven't gotten to that. It's just me in the office, so
right.
I have I don't work 24/7. Although
How
I try
dare
not to
you?
anyway. um, but for example, as I've mentioned, I love sheep.
Mhm,
So this past year, I went to a sheep show in Iowa. My favorite breed of sheep, the Valley Black-nosed sheep, have finally been brought to the U.S. and they had their first show in Iowa. So I went to the show and I created some first day event covers
okay.
Oh,
for the
cool.
show. And I took them and I gave them to a couple of the people that I met there. I had some of the judges sign them and things. So I was spreading the news of philately while I'm at a sheep show.
Hmm.
I was telling people about it. And so I've been trying to go through and pick out a few sheep stamps. I'm going to send some of my friends that I met and everything. So it's much easier to reach out to people who are
Yeah.
not stamp collectors with topics
Yeah.
than
Yeah, there
traditional.
was there's a lady who volunteers at the Spellman Museum named Heidi Price, and she had built a topical um, medicine on stamps exhibit that she then donated to a local hospital. So at this hospital, there's just four panes on the wall of medicine on stamps. And people are using topical stamps to introduce people into the hobby and into philately because it's so much easier to connect with people in a hospital with medicine on stamps. It makes a ton of sense
Mm-hmm.
to expose people to that and say, hey, this is another way to collect stamps. So yeah, I mean, it's so many people get introduced to it
Um,
that way.
one of our previous board members, Felix, did an exhibit in a rest stop in Mississippi. He lives
Okay.
in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and so he did a big display in the rest stop of Mississippi things that were connected to Mississippi on
Hmm.
stamps, and did it like at Christmas time and had a big display there. So yes, it's very easy to find ways um, to reach out in
Yeah.
non-traditional forums. So
Yeah. Interesting. To that point, I mean, Mississippi on stamps. At a certain point, how do we define top? I'm getting off on a tangent here. How do we define topical collecting? Is someone collecting Mississippi postal history a topical collector of Mississippi items? Is that I don't know.
I think it
yeah,
goes back to it collect what you like,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but is
yeah.
that topical
Yeah.
collecting? It's postal history collecting,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a
Yeah.
top. I don't know.
Well, we have to
I
start drawing the
think
Venn
that's just
diagrams
semantics.
Yes,
here.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
We got the Venn diagram going. Yeah.
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 Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would have guessed 13,000 easily.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I
So
guess we got to all start spreading the word more. Just
Yeah,
writing the
absolutely.
ATA with the
that's
website
right.
on walls and,
Mhm.
Yes.
spreading it around.
Yes. So yeah, it's you know, it's been I do think people a lot of times think that we're bigger than we are. Maybe I don't know if
Mhm.
that's because we're like big and loud and out there or what, but try to make our presence known.
Yeah.
But,
I think it's just the sheer number of people who collect topical stamps. Yeah, they should be members because it would make things easier. But yeah, I think that's because topical stamps is just such a large section of the hobby. So
it is
yeah.
the checklist is one of the biggest draws
Mm.
because it makes your shopping so much easier.
Mhm.
That was definitely a draw for me. Because I thought, how would I? Well, first of all, I was thinking very small. I was thinking US, and US doesn't have hardly any sheep
Mhm.
stamps. They have several of the boring, the bighorn sheep, but
Yeah,
that's boring.
right.
Um, but I didn't even think about worldwide, and even then, it never occurred to me. Just the countries like Australia and New Zealand,
Hmm.
they have a lot of sheep there,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of sheep on their stamps. And then of course all the nativity scenes.
Hmm.
You just it's the topics can be very, very broad, and you just don't even realize it.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes they're just a little bitty dot on the on the stamp, and I'm like, well, does that count? I don't know. There's a white dot there. I think that's a sheep. So
Yeah. I think it was the intention behind the dot. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Um,
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Um, and for
you're very
sharing,
welcome.
yeah, for
It was
sharing,
very fun.
how to properly define topical collecting.
Yes,
Um,
you define it any way you want to.
yeah, yeah, the definition does not exist.
Anti definition. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Um,
When next year is our 75th anniversary.
oh wow, okay.
There you go.
Jerry Usack started it in 1949, and
So you'll be at Cleveland then for gas.
at Hartford.
Hart, yes, so sorry. You'll be at Hartford for
Yes, we will. Yes,
yeah.
we will. And so it'll be our 75th. So we'll have we're trying to have some big things going on all year.
Hmm.
And so I'm hoping to get to a few more shows than I usually do. So we can do some more presentations and things. But yeah, when Jerry started, he wrote a letter or made the comment, I don't remember which it was, about topical collecting, and thinking that if he was interested, that maybe he could get, a couple hundred people to join the ATA. So
Yeah.
I think he would be very pleased with where it is today.
Oh yeah.
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 So,
Absolutely.
75 though, that's huge. My goodness.
yeah.
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 So we're going to try to do some, a few special things, but
Yeah. Well, congratulations. Thank you so much. And no, best of luck. Reach out if I'm excited to see you at Hartford.
yes,
And
me too.
yeah.
Yes, Jasmine, I hope that I can meet you at a show somewhere. So
Yeah, I'm definitely Hartford's closer to me, so I'll be heading out that way for sure.
fabulous,
Yeah.
fabulous.
Fantastic.
Yes, so be sure and come and find me. So
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be easy to spot. Head for the
Yeah.
laughter on that corner over there.
yes. So
Great.
Awesome.
yeah.
All
Well,
right.
it was great chatting with you too. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for inviting me. I'm
Absolutely.
quite honored, and
Absolutely.
so fun. It was
Thanks
fun.
for talking with us.
Oh yeah. So have a good day. Thanks, guys.
You too.
You too. Bye.
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 Oh, that was so cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, she's a lot of fun. She really is. She's I didn't know she was also a topical collector. And yeah, it seems like it's just really sunk its hook in and really started to grow. But no, I mean it's huge.
It's great. It's great. And they seem infectious.
Mhm.
Again, I'm a bit of a lurker online. Like I just kind of like look at all this, what everybody's posting and stuff,
Mhm.
and some of their posts and some of the things that I can kind of see other people talking about. They have a good time, and it's huge. That's huge.
I think that's important, especially for people, like she said, coming in off the street. It's easy to relate to absolutely everything that they're doing. There's no barrier to entry because, I mean, other than knowing what a cat is or a sheep is or what a ship is,
Right. Yeah.
these things that everybody knows what they are and can relate to in one way or another, it just allows them to collect all on the same scope, all on the same level. It just equals the playing field. Yeah.
It makes it easier to talk to people outside. And anytime my friends are like, why do you collect little pieces of paper? I get to wax eloquent on these really cool, neat things that I found. And, you know, well, yeah, this has a tea leaf on it, but then I can delve into history if I want. It really kind of opens it up and I keep going back to collect what you want. And I love that viewpoint. And topical collectors seem to really have that in spades. Just, is this a sheep? I think it's a sheep. It's a sheep. It goes in my collection. No one's going to argue with me, you know?
Yeah. Nobody can see it in my book unless I show it to them. Yeah.
Exactly. If you want to be that open with your friends and show them you're geek that way. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. And I think her enthusiasm is, like you said, infectious and,
yeah. It's been great.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for talking to me and her. And
thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This has been fun.
Yeah. Glad you're going to Hartford. Glad you're going to Hartford. That'll be your first Great American Stamp Show.
It will. Right? It will.
Yeah.
Just a little small one up here in Massachusetts is really all I've been getting to.
Yeah.
And you've been telling me that it's so dramatically different. So I'm going to be excited to see, you know, what a big full blowout's like.
Yeah, absolutely. For something that is that long and that large, and their display at their display in Nebraska, Omaha, was fantastic, and that's, you know, I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm glad they've got that booth at Boston 2026, and yeah, I would have expected them to be at the 13,000. I assumed she would have corrected me and said no, 17,000. But
right, yeah.
But you know, it just shows that the exposure is so important, and letting people know that these organizations are there to help them, and they're there to help support the hobby. I mean, the work that they're doing is supporting people within their own organization, but outside of it as well.
Yeah, like that she was talking about creating the database of people that opt in. That's huge to me. Okay, cool. I also collect cats. Where are my cat people? Having that access to that is also amazing.
Exactly.
We want to create community. We want to create groups of people having good times. How better than to join a society that exists for stuff you're already interested in? Getting involved. It's great. It's huge.
Yeah. And I think it's fantastic that they made one of their first missions to revamp the website and then followed through on it and made it incredibly useful. What she was talking about, how, you know, she didn't want it to be too convoluted, too confusing for, you know, the older population, but not too boring for, you know, to make it still interactive and to make it appealing to everyone. I think they hit the nail on the head there, because I was poking around and saying, this is incredible. It's clean, it's informative, and it's easy to navigate.
I have the electronic version of the membership, so I get it over the web, and sometimes with electronic subscriptions to other magazines, it's just like a copy of a PDF. They even put a lot of thought and energy into the electronic version. Anything that's a website, you can click it.
Oh, that's terrific.
The link. It's very it's not super interactive. There's not like videos, but it's still cleaner, and it's a beautiful presentation.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier to do more research and find more information straight from that PDF.
That's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. Well, thanks for listening. Join the ATA.
Please join.
And until next time, thank you, Jasmine.
Thank you, Mike. Bye.
Bye.